Hi BookTube. Today I'm bringing you an essay titled 20 Cents Worth of Murder by Stephen Leacock that I had read just now. And I thought it was quite entertaining, so I thought I'd share it with you. So this is 20 Cents Worth of Murder. I am one of those who like each night after the fret and worry of the day to enjoy about 20 cents worth of murder before turning off the light and going to sleep. 20 cents a night is about the cost of this for first-class murder by our best writers. 10-cent murder is apt to be either stale or too suggestive of crime. But I am sure that I am only one of uncounted thousands of crime readers who feel that the health and enjoyment gained is well worth the price, and share my gratitude towards the brilliant galaxy of crime writers who supply our needs. I could name them if I wished to, but everyone knows them so well that it is needless. They will not, therefore, take it amiss if I offer them a few suggestions, endorsed, I am sure, by the same thousands of readers still uncounted, as to what we want and what we don't want in our current reading. In the first place, if you don't mind, don't kill the victim too soon. We like to get to know him a little first. I mean, don't start with his body. Don't have Inspector Higginbottom summoned hastily in paragraph 1 of page 1 to the mansion's apartments because there's a dead body just found upstairs. The thrill is too short. We lost interest. Even when it turns out that there's been foul play, it doesn't rouse us. We expected it. Nor even when it turns out that the dead man is a leading member of the stock exchange. That's all right. We never heard of him anyway. Oh no. Give us a chance to learn to know the man a little and like him, and then his death is like that of a friend. Or let him be such a mean hound that we get to hate him. Then, when his body is found, who is happier than we are? Now another little point. When you do find his body, don't have a string of people, a house full of them, who have to be under suspicion one after the other, so that we can see it all coming. The butler, the private secretary, the French maid, the handyman. Too handy, perhaps. Well, everybody knows the standing list. All these people commit murders. To these are added the guests. After all, do we really know them? And now we think of it, even the family lawyer there overnight. Family lawyers are often crooked. So every one of these has to be eliminated, one after another. All right for the author at 10 cents a word for elimination, but poor stuff for us, even at a cent a page. And oh yes, with this, please cut out the diagram that goes with it, called the plan of Arundel House, ground floor, upper floor. It's a bum drawing anyway, done by the author, of course, to make it look circumstantial. But it's the same plan, as a matter of fact, that I've seen for 21 years. Arundel House, or Wisteria Lodge, or number 1 Jefferson Avenue. It's all cut into little bedrooms with gaps for doors, marked steady, bedroom, bath, with one bath for all these people. And in one room is a little diagram like a sausage marked body. Well, I can't study all of that out. I have no time. Never mind explaining what window gives on the lawn and what other windows give on what. Windows always give in detective stories. In real life, they are made to go up and down. And the French windows on the ground floor of Arundel House, Plan 1. Never mind explaining which side they're bolted on. I can't follow it. Oh yes, and fingerprints. Don't have any. Really, we're all tired of them. As a matter of fact, I'm glad to notice that a good many of the best people are cutting them out. Inspector Higginbottom shakes his head and murmurs, gloves. It seems that practically all people who are thinking of murder go round in gloves. I've noticed them on the street. The same with footprints, though I am not so sure about them. The old footprints that Sherlock used to trace are, of course, clean out of date. But the new scheme of Sherlock's scientific successor, you all know who it is I mean. The new scheme of blowing powder into a footprint of mud, filling it up with cement, and then taking out a perfect overshoe, that's still good stuff. Now, as to your detective himself, but no, I can almost despair of trying to give advice. All I can say, and I speak for all of us, is mostly negative. Don't, of course, make him long and thin, that's dead. But for heaven's sake, not fat. Don't have him go without sleep or go without food, often for 3 or 4 hours at a stretch. Keep him decently fed, and for our sake, not for his, give him drinks, plenty and often. Do you remember how, under Prohibition, all the sleuth hounds had to begin to drink tea? You remember how the great detective would sit and think things out, stirring his tea? I don't believe you can do it. Take some whiskey and you'll begin to think fast. There's one standard English crime writer to whom I can never be sufficiently grateful, who makes a point at every emergency in his story of giving his characters a stiff whiskey and soda. Inspector Higginbottom, as soon as he realizes that the body is that of Sir Charles, goes to the sideboard and pours out a stiff whiskey and soda all round. That's the stuff. I can read that all night. And the criminals themselves get it even better. The moment they feel themselves in a corner, what's that word we use? Oh yes, trapped. They pour out a drink and a whole tumblerful of neat brandy. When they don't feel trapped at all, you can't trap a man full of that. Oh, then they don't feel trapped at all. You can't trap a man full of that. Of course, you would ask why just whiskey and not champagne? It's too expensive. There is, as everybody knows, one prince of mystery storytellers who never conducts a crime without giving us at least half an hour at Monte Carlo with frosted champagne cocktails and a Romanian princess to look at. But it feels extravagant for anybody brought up in a plain home with just whiskey. And yet such is the contrariety of things here in this author. I mean, the one with the whiskey and the soda. All my associated readers know exactly who it is I mean. So fine about the drinks, and yet failing into another fault that always exasperates us. I mean, filling his books with the descriptions and scenery. He begins practically always with a market town, Hellborough or some such place, where they talk broad something. We can stand for a street or two, but when it comes to the town hall dating from Edward the Confessor, we pass. Scenery we don't need at all, except to take it fast, like a tourist in a picture gallery. You see, those of us who have read crime stories for 20 or 30 years have got in our minds a collection of scenes, like what we call the sets, in a 10, 20, 30 theater. Market town of Hellborough, correct, we have it. Pearl Seas of Chicago, right, here you are. Drawing room of the rectory, that's it or not? Not that, that's a ballroom in Denver. But anyway, we've got all our sets and a collection of weather. It's odd the junk we carry in our minds as an equipment for reading. However, that's another topic. And there's this. As you get near the end of the story, don't have them all chase one another round. I mean all the characters, bandits, detectives, etc. in a sort of grand climax. You know the kind of thing I mean. In and out of cellars, down rat holes, out through outhouses. Poor old Edgar Wallace. There, I hadn't meant to mention names, but never mind. Could never get away from this. The sleuth, trapped by the bandit, thrown into a cellar, water turned on, reaches his throat, dives out through a sewer, runs round in front, nails up the door, bandit trapped, goes to the attic, detective follows, detective trapped, bandit on roof, leaps into an aeroplane, detective crawls through a fly screen, leaps into another aeroplane, zoop, they're both gone. We have to begin over again. And here's a point of importance for the conclusion itself. Don't be afraid to hang the criminal at the end. Better lay the story, if you can, in a jurisdiction where they hang them, because to us readers the electric chair sounds so uncomfortable. But hanging is old and respectable, and, if you like it, you can use such a phrase as went to the scaffold or went to the gallows. That's as simple as old Mother Hubbard. But, I mean, we want him hanged. Don't let him fall into the sea out of an aeroplane. It's not good enough. Hold him tight by the pants till you get him to the gallows, and don't let your criminal get ill in prison, or get so badly wounded or so heavily poisoned that he never gets tried because he is summoned to a higher court. Honestly, you can't get a higher criminal court than the State Court of Appeal. There isn't one. But I'll stop there. Other readers may have suggestions. And so I thought that was quite entertaining, especially his, description of the sets that we as readers carry on our mind, and especially, in certain genres you would have predetermined sets, probably in, wider literature. That's not so genre specific. Our sets would be a little bit different and not so specific. But if I'm reading something and a character is described as, sitting in a library, I really only need kind of a rudimentary description of what kind of library it is. I don't need, a row by row, table by table, desk by desk description of this library, because I already have in my mind a perfectly sufficient set, as he calls it. I have a library in my mind, and that's all I need to be able to move forward with the story. You know, a few hints as to which of the libraries in my mind I should choose. You know, are we thinking a, Toronto Public Library? Is it a small town Carnegie Public Library? Is it a private library? Is it a monastery library? You know, a few subtle hints, and I don't really need all that description. I suddenly, can just pull from my mind and move forward with that setting. And actually, the next chapter in here is titled Reader's Junk, and it's an essay specifically on various settings in our minds. But there's that, and I hope you enjoyed.